Hi, today on Catherine Learns Stuff, I'm going to walk you through how to make these cute, super simple shaker ornaments. So let's jump in. So if you want to get a copy of the SVG file that I've created for the super simple shaker ornament, you can go to my website, catherinelearnstuff.com, and then jump over to my shop. In my shop, if you scroll down, you'll be able to find the Shaker Ornament SVG files where you can get them for purchase. So once you have a copy of those files, what you need to do is you need to open Cricut Design Space and you need to upload the files by selecting the upload button. I've already uploaded these files into Design Space. You will simply need to select the upload image button and bring them onto your desktop. Now you'll notice there's two files. There's the not so simple shaker ornaments and the super simple shaker ornament files. I'm gonna select them both and bring them into my canvas just to explain the files to you, but they're pretty simple to work with. We're just going to add them to our canvas once they're selected. And you'll notice once they come into Cricut Design Space, they're fairly large. What you want to do is just select one at a time, and you want to modify the height to 4 inches. And I'm going to do this for the other one as well. Now we can see them a little bit better. So each file has several pieces in it. I'm going to work with this piece that doesn't have the additional layers in it, but each file has a top piece, a white piece, which is actually going to be your acetate, and a back piece. So I've currently colored these. The back piece and the top is the same. So if you want to change the color of the paper for the top or the back, you can do that at this point or once you do the make it. Similarly with the design that's not so simple, that has the holiday phrases or the designs, if you select the ungroup button, you can change the colors and the designs of it, but every item has the same background. You've got the back of the ornament, the front face, as well as your acetate piece and your design pieces. So once you're happy with the size, I've selected 4 inches, which is a good size to have for this ring on the front of your ornament so that your double-sided foam tape fits. But you can make it bigger or smaller. Just be mindful of that dimension there. You don't want it to be too small so that you're not stuck having your double-sided foam tape showing up. So once you're happy with the color selection and the sizes, you can simply select Make It and send it to your Cricut to cut. So I'll see you over at my workstation and we'll continue from there. For my shaker ornaments, I'm going to need black, brown, green, and white cardstock. I'm using 8.5 by 11, as well as I'm going to use some Christmas themed cardstock as well for the backing. I use sheet protective covers as they cut pretty nicely on my Cricut, and they're much less expensive. And then I'm just going to use some confetti as my shaker bits this time. So I'm going to put this through my Cricut, get all of my pieces cut out, and then I'll meet you back at my workstation. So as usual, I think I've overcomplicated this. The idea initially was to make these ornaments, shaker ornaments with little designs inside, like the snowman, the Merry Christmas, the Happy Holidays, and the Christmas tree. But I've noticed that the Christmas paper that I'm using is actually pretty nice, and you can just get away with nothing and just the back of the Christmas paper and shakers. So we're going to make this into 2 different types of ornaments. We're going to make really super simple ones with just the cardstock and shaker bits, and then the more complicated ones with the designs and the shaker bits in the background. I'm going to put these together. I'm going to work first on the simple ones, and then I'm going to focus on the harder ones. Just to point out, my letters aren't put together here. I've just got all the pieces. It's kind of a mess. I'm always terrible with letters, and as you can see, it's sort of continuing that way. So these 2 letters are going to be done sort of last. I'm going to do these ones as well. But the first thing that we need to do with all of these is we're simply going to grab our acetate, which in my case is my clear paper protectors, and I'm going to glue each of these on to all 8 of them. So this is the deal. I'm just going to quickly glue this on to all of them so that we have a nice acetate sheet to hold our sparkles in. So simply just using my crafting glue, I'm going to glue each of these on, and we're just going to glue this together. Now while my glue is drying on my acetate, I'm going to use some foam, double-sided foam tape, and I'm going to put it around the edges of my Christmas bulb here. And we really just want it to be around the edge, but we also want to make sure that it stays flat and that there's not very many gaps so that we do not lose our shaker bits once we put them in. And I'm also going to put some foam tape up here, up top, so that our little hole, ribbon hole stays the same elevation across, because we don't want that following through on us. So I'm going to continue this on all 4 of the simple ones, and then we'll come back to finish those off quickly. Okay, so now that these all have tape on them, I'm going to leave the tape cover on them, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use some painter's tape, and I'm going to tape the back of each of these ones down to my workstation. And this is so that later on, when I'm taking the second layer of the tape cover off, I'm not going to have my glitter flying everywhere, because that's what it likes to do. So just quickly put tape on all the back of these so that I can just tape them down and hold them steady in one place. So I'm going to be using some confetti stuff that I've got just to try something else out. There are these little weird balls like this. So I'm going to pour in some into each of them. Oops, and make a mess while I'm at it. I'm going to try some different colors so that they're not all the same. And I'm already making a huge mess of myself. Okay, made a mess. So now that these are, we're going to try to keep the confetti in the middle so that it doesn't go flying everywhere. And now that these are taped down, it should hopefully be slightly easier to do. Okay, so one last thing that we're going to do before we put this together is I'm going to quickly use some isopropyl alcohol on a napkin, and I'm just going to rub this inside layer. This is going to help get rid of any static. Now, I've already got glitter all over my workstation, so you'll see that I've got little glitter bits in here. That's on the outside. This is just going to be on the inside that I'm using this. And this stuff dries pretty quickly, so by the time that we're ready to put this together, this will all be dry. It's going to help the confetti to stop from sticking to the actual acetate cover. So I'm quickly going to pull off the protective tape, hopefully, and stick this together. And now I'm going to place this down here like so. And that's one ornament done. And I'm going to repeat this for all 4 of these ornaments. Now, take our tape off and they're ready to go. So now all that's left to do is add a ribbon onto it and put it onto our tree. One thing to notice about these ones is since this backing paper is got a design on it, the back is white. So the back side typically faces in towards the tree anyway, so it doesn't matter. But now you've got some nice shaker ornaments. So next we're going to move on to the more complicated version of these that I initially started out with, but decided that might be a little bit too much. So we'll switch directions now and get those ones started. So these ones that we had before have a lot of pieces. So we're going to do one at a time, and we're going to start with the snowman. And I'm simply starting with him because he's the first one that I grabbed. And we want to make sure that when we're starting to place him, he kind of goes in view of our workspace. Now I've put all the pieces sort of close at hand so that they've got them there. I've got 2 eyes, nose, 2 arms. I just want to see that he's in a good spot. So he's going to kind of go right there. Now I'm putting him on a colored background just so that he could be visible, but you can have it the other way around or just on white paper if you'd like, but a snowman on white sort of doesn't really work. So we're going to quickly glue him down, and his head is smaller than his body. So if you're using my design, I recommend you keep that in mind. We're going to place him down here kind of in the center. Make sure he's going to be visible there. That's good. He's not straight. And now we're just going to put his body together. I lost an eye. When working with these small bits, sometimes tweezers help. Okay, so snowman is done, and we're gonna put him aside and work on the next ones. Next, I'm gonna work on the Christmas tree. And what I've decided is that the Christmas tree is actually gonna go backwards. So my paper that I've got for this is trees on the back. So it's not really gonna make a big difference if it's front or back, but I thought on the back it would be nicer so that we've got trees on the background and then tree on the inside. So again, just quickly gluing this together. Trying to place it so that the whole thing is visible. That'll be good. Now this one is ready to be waited for. I find working with letters very challenging, and for some reason I keep trying to use them. So this design that I've got has a background, a top layer, and then letters. They're still kind of attached there, and I've got my eye dot in there as well, so that's all sort of together. So what I'm quickly gonna do is I'm gonna glue these guys together and try to put them together nicely. Now I chose black and white for these letters, but you can really choose any colors you would like. Okay, so I've got my Merry Christmas here and I've got my eye here. So I'm quickly going to try gluing this on to my board. Now it's kind of wonky right now because when I pulled it off, it was stuck pretty good. So I'm gonna have to slowly massage it into place when I'm putting it down. But I've done this before, so it's not a huge end of the world event. And I gotta get my eye out of here. Just a little bit of glue. And lose the piece. Okay, and now this will get glued right sort of in the middle there. I don't want it to look like this. This goes with red, something like that. Okay. Now for the last one. Again, I did letters for some reason. Thought it was going to be cool, but whatever. We'll get there. And there's my eye. Again, we've got two layers. We've got a background and we've got a foreground, and we've got to make sure we put this together the right way. And just put this all together. This one's a little bit more messy, but that's okay. And again, this is gonna go kind of right here. This is good. So now that all of our designs are glued onto the backing paper, we're quickly going to do the same thing we did last time. We're going to use some painter's tape and tape these into place so that we can put down our foam tape on top. I'm going to use some double-sided foam tape and I'm going to put it around the edges of my Christmas bulb. So now that I've got my foam tape on here, I'm going to again add in my sparkles in here. So I'm using confetti again this time. I'm going to use the same ones that I just used in the simple ornaments so that we can have those all sort of similar looking. We want to try to keep them in the center if we can for later, but that's not necessary. And we can make a big mess. If you have a spoon or a little spatula that you can use for this, it'll help it stay more organized, but I'm just gonna suffer through this making a big mess. Okay, now before I take off my backing tape, I want to make sure that all of my glitter and confetti is in the center, so it's not going to be touching the foam tape when I take the backings off. And then I'm quickly going to take off the backing on this foam tape so that we can put these together. And I forgot that with these, I'm also going to use some isopropyl alcohol on my acetate sheets so that they aren't sticky. Just going to quickly wipe these down so that they are a little bit less staticky. And by the time I'm done, the last one, the first ones will be dry because this stuff dries really quickly. Okay, so that one's done, and we're going to move on to the next one. Just going to keep taking off the tape cover and working our way through, trying not to get confetti everywhere, which so far I'm not doing a good job at. Okay, and just take the tape off the back. And they're ready to go. So there we have it. All of our ornaments are done. We've got the ones with the designs inside and with the sentiments inside. And we've got the ones that are just plain with the fancy paper inside. When I started these off, I was leaning towards making these more fancy ones, but honestly, after having done this activity, I think these simple ones actually look kind of better because there's not so much chaos happening inside and they're just simple and nice. I probably could have, like with this one here, worked on placing the trees more centered so that they would already be visible there, but I think it still looks pretty nice. And so I think they turned out pretty good. And then I've got like this one here, for example, I used the trees at the back to match the tree at the front. So I've got all of my ornaments done. So I've only got red ribbon, so I'm quickly going to just put some red ribbon in all of these ones, and we're going to be ready to hang this up on my tree. Alright, now that my ribbons are on, it's just time to put them onto the tree. And there you have it, your super simple shaker ornaments are complete. I've left details below in the description of all the products that I've used, as well as links to my website where you can get a copy of these SVG files. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.